Okay, we're going to do another part here where we're talking about mythology and how it's used maybe in Dungeons and Dragons, and hopefully y'all appreciate this and using it as a teaching tool kind of way. It kind of shows you another side of it because in this they of course use the exaggerated points of which, but quite often you're helping one side or the other, and in that it kind of exposes itself somewhat, but eventually you end up helping all three of these groups through this game that apparently are looked at as having separate mythologies. Still on my stag here. Ooh, hell yeah. Alright, so let's go through a portal, and we could go to anywhere, but I'm first going to go to Ispire Peak. Now, I live in the area of Neverwinter, which you can see in the eyeglass there, but I'm going to go to Ispire Peak. And this is the area out of town, far enough up, reaching higher and higher above sea level, and in the crutch of mountains to the point, oh, they're already fighting the dragon. It's gone already. Yeah, they're whooping it. That was the bar across the top. So this place, even though I live in Neverwinter, it's attached to a lot of places. And whenever I take this portal, I'm supposed to be taking the journey, but I don't really take the journey. I just go, and end up going there. It's a way to portal you in. And in games, quite often you'll end up getting things like this, or you'll have gone there once and left this thing so you can go back and do it again. And da da da. And whenever you do, you'll end up showing up right next to the sacred portal where you left your object and did the little thing at, and ba-ding, you pop out right here. Only now it's winter, and things along that line. So uh, getting to the point of like giants and things and stuff. Did I go the wrong way? I think this falls off the edge of the glacier. I'm on a glacier type piece right now. Yeah, it falls off. Whoa. Don't want to go there, bud. Okay. These are little people also. And we can go to a next area and it'll show giants and things on that line. But well, let's go up here to the top of it. It's quite a run, but as we run, I'll be talking to you. So I'm using my autumn stag, and we've gotten past autumn here. There's not a winter stag. There should be one. I think there's a legendary one that came out now, but you end up, whoops. Oh, yeah, I'm so far above these level now, these people aren't even going to attack me. They're going to key at me and look at me and stuff, but they won't attack me. Even these guys? Yeah, even the ice trolls. And the ice trolls have a special attack. They can freeze you or put chill on you and cause a problem. So these are people that are used to the cold, and it doesn't cause them a problem. Because of all that, you end up having some mythology of how these guys can withstand the cold, or something magical about them, and tails come out and so on. And it looks like we're kind of getting up towards Viking lands, but not really. We're really just getting into the north and Glacier's Edge. And the reason they say Glacier's Edge is because they're on the edge of the glacier and we are on the start of mountains, and because of that we have this effect going on. But Glacier's Edge is well, let's just say this, that uh, North Ireland and all the UK and stuff at one time had a glacier hanging over it that was kilometers thick. And this is Dungeons and Dragons about ancient times. And here's Ice Hammer Hall. And so we can tell that we're intruding definitely into this land here. And where we need to go is on up here, because ancient tales of giants and blah blah blah, right? Well, I'm going to show you something just exaggerated for Dungeons and Dragons sake. If you'll look there, there's this bridge that you go across, but this bridge is known as Salfnir's hammer. It's an ancient Celtic hammer if you look at it, and double-bladed axe. So we can tell who that goes with. And look how giant they are. Well, no, it's a bridge between two places, for there's a sacred pass, and I did a video about it not too long ago where this pass, where they find that the Amber Road was coming up through there, and it was really bypassing the lower Celtic run through, and they were doing their own thing up and around. So they had the kind of own thing going on. Not that they didn't trade with each other too. And they did. But in mythology, and so what we've kept about that history, and in D&D here, we have this ancient idea that they never got along, and they didn't have any interaction, especially not with these giants. Let's take the signpost now, and let's go to Icewind Dale. And I'm not even going to go to the town of Icewind Dale. I think I've already showed you a place of that before in Caer Konig, but I can go to let's go to the Sea of Moving Ice campaign, because now we're reaching up towards the point of Vikings and giants that are there. This is not only just about giants, but effectively these people were giants to other people. They had giant ships, giant this. Next thing you know, everything's giant about them, right? You follow me? Well, look at this ancient ship that I'm on right here. I mean, this thing's huge. We'll look at some more of them soon. Let's disembark. And talked about in ancient times how people actually used to use mammoth tusks in Siberia in different ways. So they've got it right here in your face with these giants, but he's friendly. I talked to him, Harshnag. And he's looking for the Ring of Winter. There's this whole thing. And there's a lady giant. Yep, they have to have lady giants, right? And so these places are built out of skins and mammoth tusks. And there's totems with all these markings on them that mean certain things, and a three-headed totem. They show it to you here. There's a lion at the bottom. It's a lion and a deer, much like myself, which he doesn't really like, and then a walrus on top of it with its tusks. And sometimes when they made one like this, they would take the tusk of a real walrus and stick it in it. Things like that. And people think there's all kinds of weird things, but they're trying to do hunting and to the great gods and aim it towards the where that they know they come from, and look for birds. See those birds up in the distance? Hopefully you can see them there, way above my head. And that tells you something's going on. Grab your ships out there. Maybe a whale got taken up. Who knows what's going on? Well, it could be killer whales killing something off too. So how much are you going to get? Look at the aurora in this. How real that looks. A lot of greens, pinks, and blues, and purples. Wicked. And these giant areas here. Well, check it out. Well, let me do something real quick here. I'm going to change my mount to something more appropriate because it's not so for him. Should I use the griffin? How about the winter snail? How about unicorn? No. And I've got so many of them in here. Let's see. Ooh, I could do a yeti. And then I'm up on the yeti's shoulders. But what I'm going to do now is jump in my special boat. Whoosh. That has dragon skin wings on it. Now, it's this magic skin idea that this side has an extra wind effect, the power of the winds to it. The other side doesn't, and therefore it pushes me along, right? You can see this glistening scales. But let's look at these boats out here as we go. And these giants. We're going to run into a giant. But here are these people that are the Vikings and tales of what they might have looked like, right? And I'm skipping along in this little thing, but they have giant boats. Giant this, giant this. Everything's bigger in Texas. Well, if you think of it, Neverwinter's kind of like Texas. Do they have small boats? Sure, they got small boats too. I mean, come on. But that's still a lot bigger than this, but it's seaworthy. This is barely seaworthy that I'm in. And in fact, in a rough sea, it's not seaworthy. But those right there are fairly seaworthy, and you can tell this big one's had some problem and crashed, and there's a whole story in behind it. There's a giant in the distance. Let's go whoop his ass. So there's these people that live up here and the Viking types, but then there's giants. So what's the deal there? Well, are these like the Inuits? Well, they're kind of playing it that way, but if you get to look at them, they're really not. They're just kind of ice barbarians. Well, that's Vikings, right? No, Vikings weren't barbarians, really. Barbarian is a weird word taken out of context. Does barbarian really mean primitive? Because barbers don't have anything to do with primitive. But look at his size comparison to me. I mean, I'm up to past his knee. But that comes from tales of seeing these things. And so they end up having these tusks sticking out of their jaw. He's gotten in the water. Ouch, threw a rock on me. Pick up a rock. See, those Cyclops and those giants that can pick up those big rocks. That's how that happened. David killed Goliath. So these different areas are all attached to each other. I mean, if I was to look at the map that's here, this is this ice area, and I get here via the boat at this one part. But if I go to the next place before this, the one that I didn't go to the middle of, that leads out to this ice flow and where they're going to be at, but you don't ever get to quite go. And the first area was the same thing for the second, right? Oh, I'm supposed to get these ice rune fragments. Crystal ice rune fragments. Ooh, got one. So let's take this all the way up. You know what? Let's get on my ice sled, because wouldn't that be real appropriate? But I've got a Royal Winter ice sled. Ooh, it's really Santa's sled. You get it at Christmas. Self-propelled. I don't have to use the caribou. I have to have an artifact digging trowel, but I can pick up artifacts here, or Storian relics. So now you can get an overlook of this whole place. Now how huge it is, and there are certain quests you do at certain ones, and certain ships like this one you have to go do something at and find the thing that's the treasure that was left there, and this, and bring it to this one guy and do things, and 3 different ships all everywhere. Mythits, which are like ice fairies. Jack Frost, cause you problem. Here's another. So you find ancient runes in here, and if you look, they've got little Celtic runes on them. And that was the Land of the Midnight Sun rune. So here we are at a place where during a part of the year, during its peak, there is no sun. And it's the land of the midnight sun. But at the other part, the sun never goes down. And you see at the hard angle that it is, that's what actually happens. It comes up, where's my pointer? It'll come up during the day and come up and right across the sky like that and not quite go down. And then it'll come up again and right down, and it never quite goes down. That comes up more and more through the year, but then it goes down to the point that it is down, and then it's dark all the time. And at first it just kind of gets dusky, and it starts to get light and dusky, and more, and then it becomes the land of the midnight sun. Oop, there's a connection. So why is it that these ancient Proto-Indo-Europeans had this two snakes coming together and land of the midnight sun whenever I'm going to do a flip? And there's one of the giants that you have to attack and get his stuff out of. There's another relic right there. For a while, it was really farming out, collecting these relics. Chom, choo. Not too much damage. Let's just go whoop his ass. Boom. That's pretty easy. I've gotten so much over this level. This was only from, well, I guess it's almost 2 years ago now. But it's going to be real hard for somebody coming up if they make it any harder. And literally, once you go back through things like this, it should be somewhat fairly easy. Ooh, I'll have to clear this out and get another ruin there. So you can see all the runes they put on there, and they use real runes whenever they do this too. It's kind of crazy how much Dungeons and Dragons gets into it. Now, do they put correct thing all to the point of blah 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 and all that? No, not necessarily. I mean, we're not saying that necessarily. Look at the wood carving in front of that boat. So I got a lodestone. What's a lodestone? That's a magnet. What are magnets used for? Well, you can use them with a little strip of steel, metal iron, floating on anything like a cork or a floating piece of wood that's small, hanging off on it, and put it over at one side, and it's going to show you where north is all the time. You can be a compass, and man, using ships, compass is pretty important, right? And you see these ships, and they're so big and giant and blah blah blah, but they really got kind of a bullhorns thing kind of set up on them. But no, wait, that's not bullhorns. That's a dragon. That's a giant dragon skull they're using on it, on the front of their boats, like some of the Sumerian ones did and stuff, and the Phoenicians, how they had little things done on the front of their boats so you catch what's going on. Look at that same boat style, the Vikings and everything. People have made so many connections to that, but of course it's a later time. But is it a later people? And those sails are made out of giant dragon wings. Can you see that? But we see this as Viking now no matter what we do. Oh, and I can get up on that boat too and go into it, but we see this as Viking no matter what we do. But there's Celtic stuff on there. That symbol that's right there with the X's and the Seal of Solomon and sacred geometry going on, and a poppy flower and triad and all these little symbols that they have at the recreated dragon right there are all symbols that are used through a large point of humanity's time. Sorry, I'm not talking at the mic. I bet that ruined that little area there. Probably sounded like I was mumbling. Another thing that's cool that you can do while you're here, though, you can fish. And we really didn't think it was cool when it started because you had to do all this and get all these fish and do all this crap. But it was kind of neat where you can go to certain areas and fish and expecting to get certain ones. And slowly but surely, collections. Let me see if I can show you that. Collections. Events. It's going to be a zone. Undermountain, Ravenloft, River District, Icewind Dale. I think it's under that now. And it's all the stuff you can get from there. I don't know why, but it took some of my collections away. Huh, all the black ice gear. No. It's going to be listed under its own then. It's going to be Storm King's Thunder. There it is. So if I look under that, this is all the different types where they've got squid and frozen kipper and all kinds of things, flying fish, seahorses, and all kinds of things that you can get here. Of course, it's not tropical, so some of these things are a little bit incorrect, but they've tried to pick as many as they can. Lamprey type of fish, vent divers they call them, torchlight loose jaw, which is the one with the little angler on it, giant octopus, a nautilus, common red octopus, which is the devilfish, some edible fish that are in here too, and they want you to collect those and give them a large group of those, and there's areas that you can catch those. But while you're catching those, you catch other stuff, but only certain ones in certain areas. People found out and they put a whole thing online about it. There's even emperor crab, which is really snow king crab. Man, isn't king crab good. Electric eels, there's even a goblin shark. Yep, because of his weird face. Flounders, maxima clams, and so on. So you can go fishing in this place and everything else, the aurora that goes on. This is about as far north as we all go. But the people are here are all giants, but then there are people working with them that aren't, that are same size as me. And then there are people that are a little bit smaller. But you start finding them whenever you go back the other direction. And more towards Neverwinter instead of straight winter. This encampment is called the Great Walrus. Pretty neat. So all these boats and everything, and you end up eventually getting the boat and being able to buy it from Moloch Whale Walker. Moloch? Whale Walker. And all these names that they have that have a meaning for them. You know, and people in England think they don't have, names don't have a meaning for them, but barber comes from Berber, and it has to do with beards and people that actually cut people's hair. And millers used to do the mill work, and names were named after things that are very evident. Let me trump my horn on that. So, anyhow, Tales of Giants that we were talking about in the other one, I just didn't quite complete it and show you the eventuality of it all and the idea of see how big they are compared to me and so on. And of course, this is us fighting these giants, right? And they're bigger than me. But then later we do this quest where we're all helping these people out because this winter witch has done these things and stuff, and end up, nope, they're not giants really. Well, the main guy, and we take him. He's on our side now, and we have to fight that winter witch lady. But at the same time, everybody we're on the side of is these people that live in these huts that he can't get it, you know, even get into. And so that's the real Vikings. This is a representation of the things that they talk about. And so you can see 3 envelopes of size there, and how one would say something against the other of size-wise. And then if you have that and people adopt it, how later it becomes adopted to them, and then there must be somebody that must have been big. I'm friends with you, so who I'm not talking about you, it was somebody who must be much bigger. Exaggerations were made. I'm not taking away totally from the idea that there were some tall Cro-Magnon type people, but what we generally find is not. But yet there are ancient burial mounds and things like that that show you a lot of places that were. And let's see. So I'm going to go to Lonelywood. And Lonelywood is the attachment site from the area that was just turning to winter, which you see here. And it's got hooked up with the dock. This is the dock itself. And I take that ship basically to that next area. But this is the town that's here. And it's starting to get taken over by winter trolls and so on, and the bad guys. Now, each one of these was done as a separate module, but I'm kind of piecing it together for you. And these people, you can do certain deals for them. You can see this Tudor style that they've got going on. Caddy Bree, she's famous. Wolfenbrot, I completed that and never turned it in. You help Myaliki's shrine. Myaliki is well known in mythology circles and folklore and stuff. These people that are here, you have to help them out and give them medicines that you got, and then they come out of it but all they're needing is certain type of food. Oh, here's another one right there. Sometimes people are having things like scurvy, and all they need is something that contains vitamin C. Even though fish are good, you eat fish constantly all the time, you're getting a lot of vitamin A and E, of course, but you aren't getting, there's another, you aren't getting necessarily all of a well-rounded nutrition. And quite often you're trading for things like that. When trades go wrong and things get broken up and you have to do something about it, some people eventually have to move because their health gets bad. But getting nutritionally deficient like that will make somebody get smaller and demonize themselves. And that is what had happened in the earliest of Europe from the selections of food that they had at the time versus what they've got. And look at this map here. I'm in the town that's over here, and all those dots is all the other quests I could go to other places. But if I lead up through town, you can see it all turns to snow and ice trolls. Myaliki's adventures right over here attached onto it. And the next place that I go to is attached onto this, but you can't get there from here. You have to go in the boat way all the way around 60, 80, 100 miles past the impossible pass that no one can go through from here and make it around. Well, they don't know, but all you got to go is over the east a whole lot more, and then you can cut through and go right back to where it is. That's how they go through there and bypass you. So that kind of does finish off, I guess, the little pixie ice giant Fomorians and the idea leading all the way back down through, and there's really not that much difference from each other. And you can see how this delineation line might have been much further south in the last ice age, but as it went north of that, and yet at the same time the tails did too. And once that tail was absorbed, there's going to be somebody that has to be taller than me, and I'm actually the giants of old as compared to the people that were diminutive at one time. Anyhow, just kind of rattling and going on, and I'm not really doing anything in the game necessarily to make it all happen right now. It's just kind of using it as a teaching tool and talking about it, and I sure could have gone a lot farther into Icelandic tales and tales of polar bears and so on. And see, to these people, the giants use polar bears for their sleds. Yeah, and to these people here, to the other people, they use winter wolves and things like that for their sleds. When you get up there, it's not winter wolves, they're dogs. It's snow dogs. We know what snow dogs are and everything nowadays. And yeah, so that all goes in together. Not too much different. There's the St. Bernard dog. It lives up in the hills, but that's very much like a Great Pyrenees mountain dog, and these Caucasian mountain dog, if you ever seen one of those, they're huge. Caucasus Mountain lion dog. How about wolfhounds and how big that is? And things that are bred for certain situations. Anyhow, guys, that's going to about do it. Ching. That's enough for me. We'll try to get into another story here soon. As soon as I fade out of this area into another one, tell you more stories from the campfire. Let me leave him right here with Wolfgar. He's one of our locals. Peace.